Yesterday, in a tweet, the Washington Post said, New Zealand bans military-style rifles. Prime Minister says, just 6 days after 50 killed in mosque attacks. And I read a little bit about this, and basically what they're doing is a forced buyback. Now, buyback sounds well and great, so you look at what a buyback is. Now, keep in mind these buybacks are completely mandatory. So what this comes down to is this is a confiscation of guns of the people that live in New Zealand, and they're going to compensate them for it. But it's confiscation nonetheless. Now, how is New Zealand able to do this buyback and start the implementation of it just 6 days after this tragedy happened? Well, it's simple. They put in the first steps that all people who wish to control their population always put in place. First, they started making restrictions. Second, they made a registry and mandatory registration of these so-called assault weapons. Now, keep in mind, what they consider assault weapons aren't really assault weapons, because all of us know the term assault weapon isn't even a thing. It's just something they use to make it sound scary. What most of these guns are is hunting rifles, recreational and sporting rifles, and rifles that are used in the defense of people's land, home, and loved ones. So that's what they refer to as assault rifles. Rifles that we would actually be able to use to protect our family, our friends, our neighbors, ourselves, and just to protect ourselves in general from any enemy, foreign or domestic. Now, what's going on here in the United States? Well, following right after that, we had a tweet from Bernie Sanders, one of the leading presidential candidates for 2020. And here's what Bernie had to say. This is what real action to stop gun violence looks like. We must follow New Zealand's lead, take on the NRA, and ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in the United States. Now, that's what Bernie just said, but I think we've heard this before. Because if you remember in 2016, when Hillary was running against President Trump, she said that she would support an Australia-style gun control, which, as you know, Australia did the same thing New Zealand's about to do. They just did it, a few years earlier. So you think to yourself, well, this is America. This couldn't happen here. Or could it? Because as I'm reading these articles talking about this new New Zealand ban and essentially confiscation, they're actually comparing the registration scheme that New Zealand uses and what's able to, give them the ability to confiscate these weapons so quickly is very similar to things we have in the United States, such as the registry scheme in Massachusetts. They even cited states such as California, New Jersey, New York, and others. So, sounds like we're kind of heading down that road, doesn't it, guys? We had the leading presidential candidate from 2016 say she supported Australia's gun control. Now we have one of the leading contenders for 2020, Bernie Sanders, saying that he would support that in the United States. I would note, we also have bills right now that are universal background checks, H.R. 8, H.R. 2, that already passed the United States House of Representatives and are going to be going to the Senate. We have bills in motion that are out of committee that are going to enact red flag laws, things like that. So I'd say a lot of these people are trying to set the stage where the United States won't have the significance of being liberty-minded, the Second Amendment, all these things that we cling to. We're actually starting to model our country after other countries who quickly and swiftly confiscate weapons, ban weapons just on a whim of their leader. And I hate to say it, guys, most of it's the Democrats, but it's not just the Democrats. Because if you look at the bump stock ban, which, barring a miracle, out of the lawsuits that GOA is fighting right now in court, we still haven't heard anything yet. In 5 days, we will be mandated to either destroy or turn in other words, confiscation of our bump stocks. You know what makes the bump stocks different, though, than Australia and New Zealand and what Bernie Sanders is calling for? There's one big difference. In New Zealand, Australia, Bernie's recommendation, Hillary's recommendation, they at least had the common decency to offer to reimburse people their money that they worked hard for and spent. Whereas with the bump stocks, we're not even going to be compensated. So it's kind of scary, guys, but just keep in mind these things are happening right now, right in front of us. We're seeing what's happening in other countries, and like I said, time to get involved. We can't just sit there and be the silent majority anymore. Call your legislators. Spread the word to your friends. We need to stand up and remind the people that we're electing in office what makes America great, what makes America different than these other countries. America is not supposed to be the type of country where in 6 days they could confiscate all of our guns that they deem to be assault weapons. But as I've just relayed to you, the stage has already been set. All right, guys, take it easy and have a good one.